Welcome to the Redbeard Embodiment Podcast. I am your host, Alex Greene, and I'm on a mission to bring the power of embodiment to people all around the world. In this podcast, we explore how embodiment practices, trauma healing, and knowledge about the human nervous system can help us find our ground, discover new sources of meaning, and create connection in an ever-changing world. The deepest change is embodied change.
All right. I am so excited to sit down this afternoon with my colleague and who's become my friend, Svava Brooks. And Svava is in Reykjavik, Iceland today, where she lives. I'm in Colorado, where I usually am. And Svava is a TRE colleague. She's been in the TRE tension and trauma releasing exercises world for a long time, both in the United States and Portland, Oregon, and San Diego, where she has lived previously, and now back in Iceland, where she is sort of spearheading TRE Iceland and growing a community of practitioners in Iceland. And I've been fortunate to have the opportunity this past year to travel to see Svava several times. As we have sort of resumed the TRE program, a certification program there in Reykjavik this year. And so I've been fortunate to co-teach with Svava and get to know her a little bit along the way. And what I was hoping to cover today with you, Svava, was just to hear about, to me, everybody who finds their way to neurogenic tremoring and TRE, there's always something about it that has been some reason why TRE was the right thing at the right time. And there's also a reason why we tend to stay with it. And so I think of you, Svava, as a very passionate facilitator. You've been passionate in the trauma world, through your whole professional life. And so that's the story I'd like to hear from you. What your personal journey with TRE and trauma work, and why that is so important and compelling for you. So, Svava, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you so much for your introduction and for giving me this opportunity to share. Of course, as you know, I'm incredibly passionate about TRE, and I'm I say a broken record, but, I think it's something that every time I speak about TRE or introduce a new person to it, I feel teary because it has been so life-changing. And just last night, I was finishing a class online with a group of people, and I was in tears at the end of these 4 classes. There was a young man, if I just dive right into his impact of just 4 sessions, he was trying to communicate what he'd gotten out of, the work. And in the first few sessions, he was kind of confused, but he was so grateful to be here. He's like, my sisters have worked with you. They sent me, and he's like, I've been crying a lot in between sessions. And he's like, I'm so happy that I'm crying. I've been angry for years and I didn't know how to get to my emotions. And he was just, so thankful. And then he told a story yesterday that I think really just summarizes David Berceli's vision. I was so moved that he's like, yeah, I don't know what's happening to me and I don't really understand it, but I feel so much more open and like I'm more connected. He has 2 little boys. And he said, even I was at the doctor's office this week, and I never do stuff like this, he said, and there was a young woman with her elderly father, and she was all worried. She didn't want to leave him because he was hard of hearing or whatever. And he was like, this young man, he said, well, I'm sitting here waiting for my turn. And he said, so I stood up and I told him, I'm happy to look out for your dad and make sure he gets into his appointment. And and then he was just like, I don't know. I've been telling people this, something weird is happening to me. And I was like, I think you get it, Alex.
I get it. Yeah.
I'm so moved. And basically, right, it's like once our fists come down, right, when we come out of that fight, flight, freeze, and we actually start to see the world and not just where's the lion, where's the danger. then all of a sudden, and we connect to our hearts and our vulnerability, all of a sudden we see the pull to relate and connect and to help other
Right.
people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I couldn't have ended this, 4-week training or this 4-week class any better myself,
Right.
because all the people in the class were like, yeah, we get it. So, and so it was really, really moving. And someone that was very soft spoken, and he had trouble communicating, like, I don't understand. I'm really struggling with finding words, but I have found my feelings. Something is softening up inside of me, and I'm starting to relate to people, and it gives me hope.
Yeah. Oh, that's a perfect example of,
Yes.
yeah, the kind of somatic opening, the heart opening. And I loved your, when the fists come down, what then? What a good way
Yeah.
to put it.
And I
Yeah.
mean, and I personally can relate to that, because when I found TRE, I was online, like so many people looking, I had gotten, I'm a complex trauma survivor, childhood trauma, and I feel like I've tried everything under the sun. And, by the time I found TRE, because I recognized that every time stress reached a certain level in my life, I was a mom, 3 kids, relationship, and, working as a prevention educator on child sexual abuse prevention, both in Iceland and in the States. Very
Right.
passionate about that, because, that being my history, and, I had found a way to recover in many ways from that. I recognized when the stress in my life reached a certain level, it was like this compulsion took over. It was like this old habitual reaction took over, and I didn't like it. I didn't like myself when that happened. It was very much kind of, the fists came up, and I became kind of a bulldozer. I was productive, but I kind of, bulldozed over people, a little bit of a bully, but and I also just completely ran on empty. I would run and fight until I collapsed, and so I had chronic migraines, chronic just muscle tension and swelling, stomach issues, the usual, stress related symptoms. But
Yeah.
when I was online looking, I found a video where David was, I don't know, I haven't seen this video since, so maybe it's been taken
It was
down.
just for you. It
It
was a
was just
video
for
just
me,
for you.
exactly.
Yeah.
Where he was guiding a group of people through TRE, and I was just so struck by it. And it was literally like a physical reaction. My body was just like pulling me in, and very physical, very strong reaction to what I was watching. And I was just so curious. So I Googled, okay, what is this? And I found a training in San Diego like a week later, module 1.
Wow.
And I signed up for it. And there I was a week later. I was like, okay, I'm really not sure what I'm doing here, but it's so clear this body was ready for this. So I'm just here. I'm curious. And I just literally dove in.
What year was that
That was
approximately?
95.
1995?
No,
No.
no. Sorry, 1995.
Uh,
2015. There was a 5.
okay, okay, okay. I
No,
was like,
exactly.
wow,
Yeah,
you
no.
were truly early.
Yes.
Okay.
No. 2015.
2015.
So,
Yeah. Okay.
and truly, I mean, and this is kind of the story that I tell people, or when I introduce them, to TRE in my class, is that in that weekend, my whole world just kind of blew open with the fact that my body knew something that I didn't know, my body had this capacity. And so through that weekend, and then when I realized, what was going on my body was very eager for sure, but there was also part of my nervous system that was like, I don't think so. No, we're not doing this. And because I knew how to contain all the repressed physical stuff. And so I had to really learn to kind of negotiate with my body. So that's why I also decided to sign up for the provider training, because I knew I would need the structure and support to make it happen. And So with TRE and then learning about nervous system regulation and the polyvagal theory, I think was really the map that I was looking for 20 years. Because once I saw that and understood, I was like, wow, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just stuck I was in a functional freeze most of my life. Yeah.
Yeah. So cool. Well, so Svava, I've often heard you share, when we've been teaching and I've seen you with students, something that I think is makes you really effective in your teaching is you had your own very, we've all had our journey with it, but you kind of like, to me, you really sort of studied your experience pretty carefully, and you also describe well how your sort of thawing from functional freeze and the nervous system shifts and changes that happen for you, kind of, it was sort of like, I think I've heard you say it was kind of like a 2-year period, and maybe more ongoing than that in some ways, but this sort of concentrated period. And I think it'd be really helpful if you could share what that 2-year journey was like what, because I think a lot of people start TRE, they have some powerful experiences, they do connect to the method, they connect to the polyvagal theory, the ideas behind it, but then they don't exactly know, like, what's this going to be like what's in store for me.
Yes.
And so I wonder if you could kind of or speak about that, almost imagining somebody who's maybe at the beginning of that journey and wondering what it might be like. Yeah.
Well, I very quickly recognized that there were two things going on for me, that both my body was really drawn to this and really wanted it. But at the same time, there was a really hard pressed no inside. It's like, we are not doing this. It's like, it was like this, it was almost hard for me to understand this push and pull. But I trusted, I had a brilliant teacher and guide and supporter, and she just kept encouraging me. It's like, your body can do this too. Just going to take a little more time, and we're just going to have to go slower. And so just like you said, I went through the teacher training twice. Because the first round, I was just slowly entering my body, because up till then, literally my body had just been here to carry this head, like there was a very little connection. And if anything, there was a little bit of hate going on here. We weren't really friends. This wasn't a good relationship. I'd rather not know what was going on down here. Exactly.
I see.
Because, and that's where I feel like I was really blessed that I was exposed to self-compassion kind of alongside with TRE. And I did a workshop with Kristen Nuff, one of the gurus, or one of the scientists and teacher that has looked a lot into self-compassion. And what she spoke to really resonated to me, to my body and my heart as well. Where she explained that, that we had capacity for self-compassion. We have capacity for warmth. We have capacity for nurture and connection, because I literally thought that was broken in me. Like I didn't have that. But she, through that, that training with her, she laid out research and demonstrated and talked about, when it comes to long-term change, and working with our body and our health, it's a long-term process. It's never a quick fix. She said what was the most often missing for people was self-compassion.
Right.
And then she related it to polyvagal theory and the vagus nerve, and how that just like we have access to hormones, adrenaline, cortisol when we need it. Our body is brilliant, right? Gives us access to that. And I knew those very well. We were buddies. But I did not have as much access to the cortisol. I mean, the oxytocin, the feel good hormones. And so she kind of, basically laid it out there in a way that, oxytocin works against and heals the damage that we can do from chronic cortisol and adrenaline. And I had already done the ACE study. I had figured out on the ACE scale, ACE study, that I'm an 8.
Yeah.
which
Pause with that just to explain, because to me the ACE study is so important. Some of
yes,
our listeners will know what it is, but not everybody. So,
yeah.
like, linger on that for a second, if you will. Yeah.
So talk a little bit about the ACE.
Just for somebody who doesn't know what it is,
Okay.
just
So
why it was important and
yes,
what we
yes.
learned from that
So
very pivotal.
the adverse childhood experience study is a study that I learned about first in 2006 living in San Diego. There were these big trauma conferences that I went to, and I heard Dr. Folletti, one of the co-authors, speak about the study. And so he basically talked about, they had like 17,000 people at Kaiser Permanente, so middle class Americans that answered these questions over, 15-year time span, which basically brought to the forefront the direct correlation to childhood trauma and abuse and to most of the high risk illnesses, heart
Yeah.
disease, lung,
Hypertension. Yeah.
hypertension today.
Yeah.
I mean, so later
Yeah.
in life. So basically, when I heard Dr. Folletti speak, he basically was telling me, given my ACE score, because you check off for what kind of abuse or trauma or neglect you have been exposed to throughout your childhood, and that adds up. And so
Right.
the
And
ACE
so the highest is a score of
10,
10, right?
10,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
And this study has been modified, and for sure, but basically he laid it out there that with an ACE score of 8, I have lost 20 years of my life.
Wow.
So when I heard that, it was almost like a little kick to the gut.
Definitely.
And I've had personal conversations with Dr. Folletti where he was like, yeah, he said, I can see it in the audience when people take in the information. So,
Yep.
but he also talked about what is it that we can do, what we are learning about how we can heal and restore. But it still took me almost 10 years from the time I found the ACE
Yep.
study to TRE. And,
Okay.
but I kept it. It was the piece that really emphasized my need to take responsibility for my health and
Okay.
understand that, you take anyone and put him in a certain environment,
Yep.
it will influence the body, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep. Yep.
And so you're going to have to help me bring it around since I sidetracked into the
Well,
ACE.
yeah. Okay. Let me think. Okay. So yeah, that's good on the ACE, and I think where we were was like, why did you bring up the ACE? Because
Yes.
yeah.
Self-compassion.
Sorry to
No, I
interrupt.
got it.
Sorry to
I
yeah.
got it. I'm
Self
back.
compassion.
I'm
You got it.
back. No, I
The
remember.
oxytocin and the feel.
Yes,
Yeah. Restoring the
exactly.
oxytocin system. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so I was like, okay. And because she also spoke to the same part of my nervous system that had protected me, to the part that I dissociated as a child. I left my body. I have memories of leaving my body.
Okay.
That nervous system, part of my nervous system, if I worked with it, it was also the part that I could feel, care and nurture and trust again
Okay.
by working
Okay.
with it.
Yeah.
And so I took to heart what she said, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to give this a year. I'm like, she says it's going to work. I'm like, okay, I'm going to believe her. And so for a whole year, I committed myself to placing my hand on my heart. I had my phone ring 3 times a day. I still have it on my phone. It's like, Svava, hand on heart, hand on heart, hand on heart,
Right.
And at first it was like, I was like, oh, this is so American, I rolled my eyes, but I'm like, okay, I have a body. I know what I've been through. If she says this works, I'm going to trust her. I'm going to do my own study.
Yeah.
And so months rather than weeks, right? And I started just while I was brushing my teeth or a red light, just almost like I barely noticed what's happening.
Right.
And then one day I was like, oh, I can feel this. I can feel the touch. I can feel the warmth. And then I started adding, 3 questions, the pillars of self-compassion. Am I being kind towards myself, or am I judging myself? Am I loving? Am I connected? right? If I connect to me, I'm more likely to connect with others. Can I remember I'm part of humanity? I'm not the only one struggling, right? And the third piece is that, am I mindful? Am I here and present? Or am I stuck in that spiral in my head spinning out,
Yeah. Yeah.
So this has been a practice for years, and it
Yep.
just really supported me connecting with my body, me trusting my body, me loving on my body, and so it worked. And so this is the first tool that I teach everybody that walks into my practice,
Yeah.
because I think it works beautifully.
It's foundational. Yeah, no, it's foundational.
For you regular listeners to the podcast, you know that about half of these episodes focus on TRE, tension and trauma releasing exercises. And I wanted to make sure that you know about the Redbeard TRE certification program, our educational platform to certify others. And we have both an online version of that I teach, as well as an in-person version of the training that my colleague Ellen McKenzie teaches in Madison, Wisconsin. My next online certification training is beginning August 3rd and 4th, 2024. That's the first of 3 modules. And the way the certification program works is it's about a 10 to 12 month program divided into 3 phases of learning, each with a weekend connected to it, and then some one-on-one work with me and people on my team to support your learning journey. TRE has been a life-changing modality for myself. It's open to people with any background. I wanted to make sure you know about the program. You can find more information at redbeardtre.com.
Yeah.
No, that's so well articulated. I'm just going to pause for a moment. Like, to me, that what you're saying is such an important piece, and it's actually what really stood out to me most when I started to teach with you, Svava, was both in our private communications, I felt quickly, oh, you're a heartful person. You're a heart-centered person. You're more than just that. You're an intelligent person and all these other things. But I could sort of sense that was like a part of your bearing, so to speak. And then when we did our first class back in May or whenever it was, and then you and I switched off, kind of leading our tier the sessions, and to me, and it was really struck by how you brought in the mindful self-compassion or a heart-centered approach, and to me it was like 2 sides of a coin. And as I've seen you teach, it's like both. Yes, there's the tremoring and what the body's going to do and how it's going to express, but there's no. But that connection to self is baked right into how you facilitate. So just a brief reflection of how much I see that marriage in your first facilitation. But yeah, keep going with kind of like so. It's like, so it sounds to me like you were lucky that as you found TRE and you intuited that I need to do this.
Yes.
But you had this push-pull of like your body wants it, but also there's resistance.
Yes.
But around the same time, you learned the importance of rehabilitating the self-compassion piece. And so keep going with this sort of 2-year journey where a lot of change and re-regulation is happening. Yeah.
Because it was the self-compassion that helped me remind myself, with an A score of 8. I was not at home or comfortable in my body, right? Like I said earlier, we were not friends. And it wasn't like my trauma was something that I was repressed. I remembered all of it. It was just parallel. And I, as a young woman, had just told myself when I went to America that it's in the past. Don't need to talk about it. Don't need to deal with it. And then, of course, it comes knocking one day. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I got to deal with it. And like I said, I had tried everything but the body. But I realized with TRE how my body was responding to the tremoring. There was a lot of freeze. Like my body would go into, in my tremoring session, a lot of locked up, a lot of, and when I understood what that was, I can still remember when I told my provider, I don't understand, my thighs keep locking up, or my chest keeps locking up. And they would just like, validate and normalize what was happening. And then the further I got into the training, I recognized it's like these were just the chronic tension patterns that, literally probably almost pre-birth, I had developed pretty deep into my muscle tissue and fascia, and my nervous system. So that, all that gave me the understanding that I needed to go slower than slow. I needed to go super, super, super slow. And I had to do it in relationship with my body. So it's like really turning myself towards and really befriending and helping my body each step along the way, that this may be uncomfortable, but it's not dangerous, right? Uncomfortable, but not dangerous, right? And so I often describe the path from the peak of the polyvagal theory down into my social engagement. It's like the little teeny tiny Legos. That's how slowly, so 1,000 steps down. Really, really slow, because the social engagement system, the safe attachment, grounded, I didn't have that.
Right.
I didn't have that. So I was creating that. I was reparenting and kind of reorganizing from the inside out. What is safety? What is warmth, and what is love? Is it safe to receive? Right? And so self-compassion, I learned how to safely receive love, and building this back and forth connection with my body, that my body along this way got understood that I was listening. We didn't always agree. But I was like,
someone was there. Someone was there
exactly
listening.
And I think that's the most important piece. And I think you can't teach. It's like we're creating both this witness to the process and being with the process, both. It's an active participation and the safety of holding. So I don't know if I was able to explain.
No, really, really beautifully said. So let me ask a couple follow-ups, because to me you're describing something so important, and because there's so many people, and like I say, I'm actually learning something as I listen, because I'm thinking about my people who get started and then they run into some difficulty, and then how to keep them going. And I love this idea of 1,000 little steps, and the even the language of you're building a capacity that that blueprint of safe attachment wasn't there the way that we hope it would be,
Exactly.
but that it can be cultivated. So you're describing it so beautifully.
Yeah.
So when you say slowing down, practically speaking, what does that mean? Did you mean that you had to sort of do smaller units of tremoring?
Yes.
Were you, and during your journey, did you was your most successful work when you were all by yourself, or when you were facilitated, or so keep going with what
Great
was successful
questions.
as you continued.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Those are great questions, because I found out early I did not want to do TRE alone. That did not feel safe.
Yep.
So, and that's why I struggled with my work between my meetings with my mentor, my trainer, because I showed up I know, I'm sorry, I didn't do anything. I just blacked out. It's like my body's like, no, we're not doing this. And so I figured out that when my ex was watching TV somewhere, I could stay in their space. So having the voice and the presence of another human in my space was so the co-regulation piece, which is crucial, right? And so that was a big hurdle. And so just allowing myself to, of course, sweet body, of course you needed support. Of course we don't go in without a rope, knowing someone is holding on, like someone is going to pull us back if, we don't, manage or whatever, because that's the fear inside somewhere. And something that I am a huge advocate when I teach today is like, I really emphasize the stopping and the pausing. I don't know, maybe more than some, but for me, I had no break, right? I was go, 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 fight, fight, fight until I collapsed. Go, 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 fight until I collapsed. So I didn't have the social engagement system, so I didn't have the inner break. I didn't know when is enough, right? So that's what I tell people when we talk about, the nervous system and the vagus. Like, we are practicing the pause, the stopping. And also part of the stopping is also I invite people to, use your mind in the breaking process, explore how you can pretty early, like, so first few sessions, we're constantly practicing the stopping. The tremor is not the worry. I'm not worried about that.
Right. It's the self-regulation piece that we can go in and out and
It's
build
the
that
self-regulation
capacity.
and the peace.
Yeah.
But then, Leah, those 1,000 steps, they were probably, I'd say, towards the end of those 2 years and into my first few of teaching, when I was doing my own tremors, that I was like, I'm not feeling anything. I don't know why I'm tremoring. I'm just trusting the process. And I wanted to make sure if I'm teaching people, I'm holding space for tremors, that I will continue to do my own tremors. And then what I feel like, if I move on fast, but what has really, I think, deepened my process is that over the since 2019, COVID, right? We started doing TRE online, and I partnered up with a colleague, and till this day, I meet her 2-3 times a month, and we hold space for each other tremoring. And I'm blown away how impactful that ongoing, consistent practice has been for my body, my nervous system, my tremoring, and as a facilitator or provider. So you've heard me speak to the groups that we're supporting now. I'm like, if there's anything I know now, wish I would have known then, keep doing peer swaps. Do as many as you can, because it's crucial to our training and our work. So so part of those 2 years, my body was definitely fighting it, because like I said, I was, PTSD, I was dancing between, very highly charged sympathetic arousal to a functional freeze or a collapse. So the process down took some time. And so self-compassion practice ongoing was a huge, huge part of that for me.
So if we were going to compare, like, do a little bit of like here, here's my question. It's like, if you were to compare what life was like, sort of like right before you sort of did this 2-year TRE journey, and then, somewhere when you at least had mostly come down your 1,000 steps. Of course, that's an ongoing process in its own way. But when when the lion's share of the coming down had occurred, how would you describe the difference in your body, mind, and nervous system? Like,
To really sum it up, they used to call me the Ice Queen. Yeah. I played sports growing up. I was a tomboy, right? I was like, yeah. But now I know I'm Queen of Hearts, right? I know that I'm basically teaching people how to fall in love with themselves, their bodies and their hearts and their spirits. And so, on the two ends of that spectrum, what really comes up for me when you ask that question, and it's going to make me emotional, is that what was the hardest thing about being a mom and so stressed out? And when, my need to control took over, and I could see the fears in my kids' eyes.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to be a good mom, trying to keep them fed and clean and protected and all that. And then, so that's what's changed. I'm a completely different mom. I'm soft, I'm silly, I'm playful, I'm generous. I don't worry about the messes. So there's a lot more joy, and there was a lot more play, and so which I did a lot of this work for them. I started it for them, and I also recognized as I was doing it for my kids, I'm like, oh wait, they're looking at me. I have to love me. I have to, and inside of me was a little girl that I've reparented, the 6-year-old me. So I realized I have to parent her and love me in order to model for my kids what self-love and being comfortable in your own skin and joyful looks like, feels like, sounds like. So, so many things. I mean, basically my joy for most things, food. I just ate because it was something everybody does, right? But all of a sudden I started feeling joy from eating and tasting food. And, I have a lot of foodies around me that loved food and planning parties. I like to decorate the table, whatever, but now I get excited about food. It brings me joy. And yeah, I've really opened my heart up in a way that, I love people. I just can't help it. I think you get that about me, Alex. And, and I know from that place, I create safety for people. People telling me their stories almost at the grocery store, and having worked with childhood sexual trauma survivors for a long time, led peer support groups for a long time. It's in my capacity to hold that. And again, I think that's where the self-compassion has helped me, because I don't take it in as much, but I can hold it because I understand it, So the last big discovery for me through my TRE journey is that I did end my marriage, because I think, what brought us together was no longer kind of the basis for being together. We wanted different things. We were different people. And I also discovered I'm an artist, so I paint and draw most days. It brings me so much joy that I make sure I make time for that. And so creativity just kind of exploded into my life. And so, and again, I think a lot of the things that came with coming down in that polyvagal theory, I was like, oh my God, it works. It's like all the things that are down here, I know what this is. I can count them.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I've heard a lot of this, but like hearing it all together, like it's really moving and it's really inspiring, Svava. So I really appreciate you sharing. Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for asking.
I wonder, let's finish with, I'd love to, and it's not like maybe we've got another 10 minutes or so, but what are your dreams for TRE in Iceland? Why is that important to you? Why did you move back there? What have you been doing? To me, you've sort of planted a major flag. Maybe tell us about that, and then also like what you hope to achieve with that. And by the way, you have a track record of sort of achieving things through your previous work with the not-for-profit for child awareness around childhood sexual trauma. So tell us about that piece. Like, what's your sort of mission?
Well, I think first of all, when I had never meant to be a provider. I just went into the teacher training because I needed it for me. But then at some point, it's like, people need to know this, And I also started getting survivors that kept coming and asking me, it's like, what are you doing? You seem to be doing all right. And I'm like, well, let me show you. Let me tell you, right? But I moved back when I, got divorced, and I have a big family, huge community here, big network, since I did a lot of my non-for-profit work here in Iceland as well, co-founded a nonprofit with my sister where we educated 15% of the population on the risk and the importance of prevention, especially for parents and teachers and support staff. So bringing TRE here, it's like, we are also on a small volcanic island. There's a lot of historical trauma here, volcanic activity, sea villages, avalanches. So I want I want to see a provider in every town around the island. And I want to get the TRE into the hands of as many people as possible here. And because, as you know, and those of us who know, it just works so beautifully with other healing modalities. And I'm already have, therapists, physios, doctors that are sending people my way, that are hearing about it and hearing about, somatic healing and how important it is to include the body. And they recognize this person has hit a wall. Let's see if we can help the body a little bit to see if we can, get under the tension that's holding this person back or holding that person down. So, so I'm on a mission to, get as many people involved. I don't want to be the only TRE provider in Iceland.
Well, okay. Well, so we have the first cohort that is coming up. That'll be about
Yes.
10
Yes.
10 people
Yes.
coming in. So that's super exciting.
Yes. And we have another training coming up in February, end of February.
Right. And then you are, of course, you're doing your one-on-one work in person with people and online, and you're leading regular groups. Which has been when you moved back a year or two ago,
Yep.
that's been a pretty successful way to do it because
Yep.
you've been able to. So yeah, just share a little bit about kind of your format and stuff.
Yeah. So basically, I offer the groups either 4 or 6 weeks. And because, as we know, it takes about 3 to 6 sessions for people to kind of really get a hold of TRE and understand it and embody it. And so I've, also when I was doing a lot of the online work through COVID, I grew, a lot of people in Iceland were showing up for my TRE classes. So I knew before I even moved here that there was interest in it. So I just, started going into a few yoga studios, offered those, 4 to 6 week classes, and it's become very, very successful. So I do that, all through winter, and both online and in person. And then I also have gone and spoken at a few, a nurses association or a teachers association. And so I get asked to come talk about stress and trauma and, how to heal the body. So I look forward to opportunities like that. But that model of teaching consistently group classes is really working. I also, like you said, people can come in and do a one-on-one session with me. I do offer like a free 30-minute chat with anyone that's curious, because a lot of people is like, well, no, not quite buying this. So when I get them on the phone and I just explain to them what it is and what we're going to do, and they're like, hey, that makes sense. I want to try that. So they usually come in for a session or sign right up into doing a group class. So it's not a hard sell once you explain it to them, because a lot of them, they're curious for a reason. But I can also share in my group, I have 3 group classes going on right now. I actually just finished one yesterday. And in one of the groups, there's a woman there, and this is not an isolated incident. She's like, I've been on my way for 2 years. So it's like, people are curious, but they're like, I'm not so sure what this is. So, and more people are being sent by friends and family. Like the young man I spoke about here in the beginning, his sister just recently came through. Actually, I think both his sisters. And in the online class that I had recently with 8 people, all of them were sent by friends and family. So,
Yeah.
the word gets out.
Word is getting out. Very cool. Well, Well, Svava, this has been so lovely. Are there any closing thoughts, words, inspirations, questions? Well, what do you want to close with?
Well, just I appreciate the opportunity, Alex, to share with you, my story and my passion for the work. My favorite piece about TRE is that it gives people hope. And someone that was struggling without hope for a very long time, I feel emotional just sharing that, is that, I understand that piece, and people they light up. And so that's where we're telling people, yes, it's great, but you got to slow down. Yes, it's awesome, but you got to slow down. It's like because they want to just go home and shake and shake and shake. But once you really emphasize the need to go slow and the need to go gentle and the need to be kind towards yourself. And like I said, the slower you go, the faster you heal. So, but that is so hard for people in the beginning. But anyone is interested or intrigued, keep doing it. And even if there are 500 pieces of Legos in those 1,000 where I don't know why I'm doing it, I'm not feeling anything, keep doing it. There is something going on. Your body and your psyche and your heart is responding to it, or it wouldn't be tremoring, right? And find someone to tremor with regularly.
Oh, so inspiring. Svava, thank you so much. And I'm going to see you in a couple of weekends because we get to teach again.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's exciting.
Thank you, Alex.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Redbeard Embodiment Podcast. To learn more, visit us at redbeardsomatictherapy.com or send me an email at alex@redbeardsomatictherapy.com. If today's conversation resonated with you, help spread the word by subscribing and sharing with others. Hope to see you next time.